We're live. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another IAS podcast. Today, we will be talking about the Resident Evil movies, and we will be talking about the Resident Evil Netflix show as well. I am your host, Renegade Operative, and today I'd like to introduce my panel. So, first, we have Deadman Gaming. Also, I heard that noise. So,
Yeah, we
My
did.
bad,
someone
my
messing
bad,
with
my
like Windows?
bad. No, my bad. It's just shoot.
It's all
You go,
good.
you go.
That man,
Well,
yeah, that man. Introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Deadman. I run a small YouTube channel, and I like to like games. Generally, every game is good in its own way, most of them, and I like to point those out.
Oh, not Battletoads, but I will talk about that later.
Oh, boy.
Generally,
Uh,
Next, we have Bernie.
Sup. Name's Bernie, Burns, whatever you want.
Also, Bernie, if you were typing, there you have to mute because we can hear that.
Oh, it was. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Next up is Arlena Bloodgrave.
What's up, guys? I'm Arlena Bloodgrave. I am a cosplayer, a D&D advocate, and a small-time Twitch streamer.
Next up is Andre.
Yo, my name is Andre B. Venom, and we're here to talk about, RE stuff, the usual.
All right, gonna introduce our two guests. First, we have Blackrock, or Black Shadow. I don't know why I was thinking of Blackrock.
yeah,
I was about to say, I was nearly took that as an insult.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have
mate.
we have our own Blackrock, so it's a little bit confusing. I'm sorry about that.
yeah.
I take it as a compliment, even everyone. Yes, name's Black Shadow. Shadow is good. I've been playing Resident Evil games on my channel for about 9 years. Been playing them for even longer than that. Too bloody long, I think, probably. So hopefully I'll be able to give some expertise at the very least about what we'll be talking about today.
And next up, we have our new regular, Des. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Des. I am a small Twitch streamer, play mostly scary games. Like to talk about scary games and movies, and yeah, that's it.
Today, she's very shy, so today we're about to talk about some RE.
Yep.
Don't be shy. We're in this together.
And last but not least, we have our resident reader here. That's about to tell us about the Netflix show, Mr. Dirty
Oh.
Dan.
You lucky boy.
Yes, I am here to lose a bit of my spirit, soul, body, reading whatever the fuck this junk is.
Well,
yes, hi,
sir,
everyone.
the floor is all yours. Tell us about this amazing adventure that Netflix is putting out.
Oh, sweet Jesus. I'm probably not going to read the whole thing and actually going to stop at some points to ask you guys some questions, see what you come up with for answers. So, all right, first point. When the Wesker kids, why? Why is that a thing? Who
Been a thing for about 12 years. I mean,
who else did Wesker get into a bed with?
I mean, there's Jake.
I mean, to be fair, a man's got his needs.
I mean, yeah, but
Can
at
he
this
be
point,
called
he's
a
probably
man?
yeah. Can he be called a man?
Mm.
When the Wesker kids moved to New Raccoon City, again, what the fuck? What is this?
I think you have to
Raccoon
take it all in
City.
one and then kind of disambiguate from there. Yeah, it is quite amazing.
Ugh.
Oh my god.
New Raccoon City, the secrets they uncover just might be the end of everything. Resident Evil, a new live action series based on Capcom's legendary survival horror franchise, is coming to Netflix and will be gutted like a fucking fish.
I don't think
Oh,
it said that
yeah.
last line. I think
Ugh, just ugh.
That one's on him.
Why? Why Netflix? Why do you do this? Why are you doing this to us?
We
I mean,
need
it
money,
came out of
though.
left field, didn't it?
We asked.
Yeah.
I will say right off the bat, I would think to even though that sounds like a hot mess, and it probably will be, I still want to give it the benefit of the doubt because the two, I don't know if they've done anymore, but the two video game adaptations that they've done have been extremely good. I don't think they've done anything else other than Castlevania and The Witcher, right?
Uh,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
They're
for the
also
most part, it has
doing
been
Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma, which is coming out like later this month.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
coming
cool.
out
late
this
later
September.
Yeah.
next month.
Well,
Yep.
I mean, so that one's going to be kind of to be seen. And granted, it's not going to be the same directors or anything, but I would say how well both of those were received. I will at least be giving it the benefit of the doubt to see how much of a hot mess it could possibly be, which will still
I
probably be a lot.
I told this to Ren. If there's like a trailer for whenever they show this off, we should react to it. See how bad, just to see how
Oh,
laughably bad
Oh
it
yeah,
is.
for sure.
I got
Yeah.
my bingo card ready, and here's what I think's
No
gonna
bingo.
happen.
Oh,
All
oh
right.
yeah, I remember.
Okay,
Wesker is
so
two teenage. Oh,
good.
okay. Wesker is two teenage girls. Black guy dies first. They live in Raccoon neighborhood. The PSAA are just rando security guards. Chris is a hired hitman who casts people.
I mean, all you gotta do is interchange some names, and that could be any film you want, really. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a
Mostly.
joke mostly, but it won't surprise me if they did something like this.
I think what's going to end up happening here, there's going to be a theme. I think it's going to be coming several times on this podcast here about people's thoughts about taking a source material, something that's been going on for 20 odd years, and sort of changing it and dispersing it into other media, which is something we're going to obviously talk about later on in this podcast. There are going to be people that are okay with that. There are also going to be individuals who think that you should never touch it. It's holy, and to mess with it is sacrimonious, and people should be killed for it. And those people will not accept this, even if it's the best thing since sliced bread is the problem. I think it could actually be all right. Is the sad part. I think there is, as I say, Netflix has previous in making these things work. It could also be an absolute disaster, and it'll be amazing to see which one it turns out to be.
Okay, so
Pro-
here's my opinion on this real quick. I'm not gonna be too long, but it is a wait or see affair. I do think that the main thing that people should realize is that there is a thing between good liberties or bad liberties. They've taken a lot of liberties in my favorite media all the time, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's like nothing completely one for one like the comics at all. But some liberties they took, especially with Thanos, they were good. In this case, I just don't get it because once again, Wesker's having more children, and already that was kind of a plot point that I really did not like at all. I mean, you have this narcissistic man who is obsessed with destroying the world per RE5, and then he's like all about himself. Why would he pump out a baby? It makes no sense. So
It
now
doesn't, but sorry, go on.
go ahead, you can interject.
I was going to say it sounds absurd, but in about 20 minutes we'll be talking about cloning projects. I think
That's true.
Anything's on the
Yeah,
table. That's the
that's
problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
a good thing.
Anything's on the table here.
It's just so weird because we've known these characters for years, and a lot of people care for them, and to see them take it and then turn it into they're going to New Raccoon City, and obviously their lungs aren't just completely burnt out by them going back to Raccoon City in the first place. It's just weird. I want to give it a shot, but I have a feeling that considering all the stuff they've tried with Resident Evil, it's just not going to be an experience that I particularly want.
That's what it boils down to. Some people won't want this experience. They'll want RE as they know it in the video games, and that people don't. Some people don't want to see it in different mediums because they feel it hasn't gone very well.
Well,
Whether it has or not, it's something you can definitely debate.
I will love a good take on Resident Evil that's just grounded. You have these new survivors. Like I think Residents of Evil said it best, where it's like, why can't they just try to migrate something that's simple, like Outbreak, where there's these survivors trying to survive in a desperate situation that's not tied to any of the other characters. Now I know they tried this with the movies, but they kind of took it a little bit too far because I know Alice started to become more and more powerful, and it started getting a little bit more ridiculous. But we'll talk about that later on.
Yes,
Any
I cannot wait.
anyone else want to talk about the Netflix series in general?
I
gotta-
actually do. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. I got a little something like as Dad said. Basically, like yeah, they have done some really good works like with The Witcher and Castlevania. But the problem that I think that I have with maybe the Resident Evil Netflix show is that it has been adapted before, like in the movies and a lot of media. Because The Witcher and Castlevania have never been ever adapted. Like we don't got anything to compare them. Like you can say, hey, Castlevania, maybe like in Captain N, that doesn't count, or The Witcher with the original 2001 Polish series, like yeah, that one doesn't count too. So Resident Evil, I think that the main problem that they will have is that at least they can compare them to like the CGI films, the live action films, the manga, the novels. Like there are a lot of stuff that maybe they can like can people probably say like, hey, the Netflix show is worse than that or better than that. It
You think
will
there's going to be a
depend.
perception issue?
Yeah, like they will have a lot to compare them, a lot of of media and material to compare them, and I think that will be one of the main problems with the Netflix show, at least in my opinion.
To add to that, if I can, it's like it's a good thing to see that they're trying to go with something new, but when it turns out to be something as ridiculous as this, I don't know. I don't really have that much faith in it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I have to agree with Dan because I don't know. I think usually when adaptations, uh, sometimes you gotta take a risk with it, and it'll either work or it'll go against it. And but I think at the same time, at least try to keep true to the original material. You know?
Yeah.
That's how I
Right.
feel.
Same.
Like I'm not like ecstatic about it, but I do want to see where it's gonna end up going. It's just such a weird, I guess, take on. Like, I feel like it could have been any character that had kids, and they just decided, oh, let's make it Wesker and slap Resident Evil on it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of
Mhm.
wish that like I wish that we could like get something like from like the main, like the main games. You know what I mean? Like, it would just be cool to see like an adaptation of the games that's heavily reliant on them and doesn't just stray away completely. You know what I mean?
So
You
I
know who
suppose
it
something
should.
Yeah,
like the CGI movies,
definitely.
Sorry, what?
something like the CGI movies, because those are mostly canon to the games.
Yeah,
pretty much.
it's just something.
Yeah.
It would be cool to see it in
Yeah.
like live action, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
also think that, I mean, Resident Evil is perfect for like something like an anime or something. They could have done a series like that where, live action, it's a lot of work and a lot of effort that you have to put into it to make it right. But I feel like anime, they could do something in that genre that's actually really good. And I don't know why they never did one or consider one, since they have like a
Yeah,
manga.
it's
I was gonna say, don't they have a manga? Like,
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
they
yeah,
do.
I've got
Yeah,
all
like
the books.
several.
I've got
Yes.
full books right with me. I've got them.
Devil May
Nice.
Cry has a manga actually. DMC has a manga as well. They're-
Yeah.
Manga's actually not too bad, to be fair. It's how they brought in Piers and a few other bits and pieces. They're not too bad.
oh yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah,
pretty
they're really
good.
good.
All right, so we have a commenter here. They said it sounds like they took the Wesker children arc and just ran with it. Yeah, I can't disagree. Like, well, I thought it was interesting when they first showed it because I'm like, Wesker's a clone. He has this mystery to him, and they wanted to continue something off of that. But then they just decided to kill like almost all of them except two, and I thought that was weird. It was like Alex and Albert like together, and that's it. Everyone else is dead. I guess in order to show that the virus was really something dangerous and it didn't work for everyone, they decided to do this plot point. But still, I wish they could have did something a little bit more with it than they did with the games. But I did kind of enjoy where it went. But I want to see what happens with Alex. But that's like a little tangent of mine.
I'm
The
still
whole
kind
plot
I will-
behind.
Right.
I'm still thinking the same. Like, sorry, but I'm still having I'm still wondering, what if these two girls aren't like Albert Wesker's daughter? Like, like maybe people are misreading the things, and maybe they will be like another set of clones, or maybe they are daughters of Alex, or maybe they are clones of
I
Alex.
swear someone said this in chat. Like, what if they do a bait and switch? I would like it, but I think it's not going to be as smartly written as people think it will be.
There's a bait and switch
Yeah.
coming Resident Evil wise, but it's not with this. It's coming with something we're also talking about later on.
Oh,
Bait
yeah.
and
So,
switches
it's
are
not.
really
It's,
risky.
it's not with this.
That's kind of an issue. I mean, they can work, but just don't. How do I put this? Don't like do a lot of them because then you'll throw the audience up. Like,
Yeah, you
wait,
can't.
what? Huh? Was
Yeah,
this?
if it's well
No.
done, well produced, and well timed, you can get away with it. But you overuse it and you just alienate the audience. So I suspect it's probably not the case. It, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
I think it's quite
loses
an open
its.
blank slate they have to work with. To be fair.
Oh yeah, it loses its appeal after a while, especially when you see it coming so many times.
If Netflix really wanted, or sorry, you can go.
Oh, okay. I mean, I've kind of had this conversation with my boyfriend. I think a couple of days ago, he and I were actually talking about the Netflix show, and I'm reading the Polygon article, and it says that it's got the writer for Supernatural, Andrew Dobb, and
Apparently, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and my boyfriend, I'm saying his opinion on this. He he's giving it a little bit of a chance since they got some good people that are working on this.
Yeah, yeah. You
Hughes
go
from
through
The
the
Walking
personnel.
Dead
Yeah,
and Breaking Bad.
yeah. There's
But
some half
his
decent person on the job.
yeah, but his main complaint is that and of course I'm quoting Dob on this one. He says Resident Evil is my favorite game of all time. Last time somebody said that something was their favorite series or whatever, they just butchered it. Star Wars. But I don't know. Me personally, and of course, I think I'm with you guys also on this. What they did with like the live action movies, they kind of like twisted it and made it their own, and I'm just like, what the fuck? This ain't even close to the games.
Well, yeah, but that was a deliberate thing from the very start, which again we'll talk about later on. I think this is worth at least a curiosity view, at the very least, if not just to see a car crash in action.
I think
it might well be.
I think what's going to really be the test, so to speak, will be the atmosphere. Like, will this be something that's actiony? Because RE has changed over the years. So we went from full blown action. We also had survival horror. We went from differing camera perspectives. So some of the stuff will probably migrate over into the actual show itself. In terms of, is it going to be action? Is it going to be horror? I think that's going to be the deal breaker. Will they follow what the movies did? Will they try something different? It's just a variety of factors that is going into this, and I really need to see like that first trailer. I think that's going to be the judgmental test for everybody.
Yep.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then suddenly the Netflix show comes out, and it's a Resident Evil sitcom.
Oh, if it's a sitcom, I
that will
would
be a
groan.
real kick in the balls.
Don't give them ideas.
They might be
Yeah, please
listening. You
don't.
don't know. You might have Paul Anderson might be on this call, just like right.
Oh,
Paul
Jesus Christ, no.
Oh, don't worry, I've got to
Like,
bring him
just-
up later. I have things to say about that man.
Oh,
Like imagine
No,
the Friends intro, but with Resident Evil characters.
Oh my God,
that
please,
one will
no.
be.
no, that's just
Yeah.
ruined.
But guys, Joel will have a job at Subway serving sandwiches because
Ah,
get a
funny.
Joel sandwich.
Oh my
They won't do that. I'm pretty sure.
I saw that coming from a mile away, by the way.
I knew it.
If I could just say this right
I feel
now,
like every Resident Evil conversation is always going to bring it back to Jill Sandwich at some point.
oh god,
It's too iconic to not bring up.
Oh, of course.
I swear
That's
to
a
God,
full
if they don't
cycle.
I actually do have two thoughts about the adaptation. Before I forget them. So part of the reason why I want to give this a chance for sure is mostly because it's a TV show rather than a movie. Because with TV shows, you actually have like time to get things going for the most part. Whereas with the movie, you're like, okay, you have an hour and a half to 2 hours to get your one point across, and that's it. Whereas with a TV show, you have we're guessing somewhere probably between 10 to 12 episodes, with the potential for more seasons depending on how it goes. So it's got, I'm going to guess they'll probably be like hour-long episodes. So you've got somewhere in the range of 10 hours to tell a good story as opposed to like just the couple of hours you would have with the movie.
I may be wrong, but I think it was confirmed that it was 8 episodes, 8 1-hour episodes. And
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
like I was kind of
that still would be plenty.
Same idea.
yeah. I don't know. I want to give it a chance.
And like I totally get it. I'm kind of on the outside with Resident Evil. Like I came in on 4, So I've beaten 4 and 5 and not really much else. I do plan on kind of starting a marathon sometime, hopefully in the near future, of
You
all the
should.
games that I have. But I mean, on the converse of that too, it's the same thing with books. Whenever they flub that in a movie, it's like you have an excellent source material. These stories have, or I'm sorry, these games have good stories that can be told, and so if if you care about the story like you say you do, like, and you can still take creative liberties with the existing stories, but like, why would you still not try to follow it closer? Like, I know more about, or I'm sorry, I take that back. I also beat 2 on my short list of Resident Evil games, the remake. But like, you have stories like 2, Leon and Claire, they're in the police station, they're in the secret umbrella facility, they're in the sewers. There's a couple of different set pieces you could use, but those are really good games with really good stories. Like, why would you not? And again, you can adapt something, maybe make a new zombie, or make a new type of special infected. You can take some liberties with the source material, but like, why would you still not try to um, adapt the actual stories? Because think about it, like, if you've got someone like me who's not really, like, I like the series, I love it, but I'm not as invested as a lot of you probably. You take something like Resident Evil 3 that I've not ever played and I've only kind of seen things around. You take something like Resident Evil 3, which has a good story, and you make a really good movie out of it, and then it's like based off of the game. It's like, oh, you know what? That was awesome. I want to go play that now.
Okay.
Whether it be the remake or the original.
Okay, I slightly disagree with something though. I disagree that the TV format would save this in the long run if it's bad. Because my
Oh,
opinion
no,
is
no. I didn't mean it was going to save it. I just mean it would be a better format than trying to take something as girthy as Resident Evil and trying to compact it in a movie. The TV show could still be hot garbage and it could still not save the live action. I'm just saying it would have a better shot than a movie at the very least.
it depends because while they do have a lot of time to build things out, there's also the fact that even good TV shows that are super lengthy and that could get really long, it's like pacing is everything no matter what the format is. So I hope that they do keep all that stuff in mind when they go forward with this. It's just that, are they going to really take the time to flesh out all these backstories and make everything make sense when a normal person could probably just skim over everything, not care, and just make something related to action and that's it? So it's a lot of stuff to weigh here in terms of what they do. I just hope that if they do decide to do their own thing, it seems like they're doing that right now, it makes perfect sense and they do consider the theme of horror in mind, because people are saying in the chat they want a more horror oriented Resident Evil show to entice them to watch this.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
Oh,
another
for
thing too. Like,
Oh yeah.
you've gotta be able to cater to the audience, and if the audience isn't receiving it well, that sucks. Like, you have to, you're gonna have to cater to people who are like probably don't know anything about the games, and you also have to cater to people who are like longtime fans of the games. You've got to keep all that you've got to keep that in. You got to consider that.
And the,
Yeah,
the
the
difficulty with this
balance.
as well
I
is
agree.
that
Yeah.
for people who know what the series is, they see Resident Evil and it develops an expectation. I think the problem is that for those people, I'm not too sure they know what to expect anymore because of a lot of different media that's come from before. Like, as we've heard, do you think it's going to be action? Is it going to be drama? Is it going to be horror? That is a problem in itself. There is a perception issue there. So it's going to have to hit out the park pretty early on. Otherwise, it could really struggle and have a real uphill battle. It might have an uphill battle anyways, but it needs to identify what it intends to be very quickly.
Yep.
I definitely think it would do well to go the horror route, since that is the crux of the series. Even the action games, they still have their horrifying moments, and it should definitely try to go there. Although trying to keep horror that relevant for so long might be an issue. But I mean, you never know; they could pull it off very well.
Can always be pulled off very well, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough whatever they choose. I
Yeah,
fear.
for sure.
Just
Because you gotta deal with like fan expectations mostly.
just a quick question. what do you guys think of Wesker having more kids for the show?
It it's ridiculous.
I think
It
It's
doesn't
ridiculous.
make any sense at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Plot wise, it makes no sense in regards to the main series, but that hasn't mattered technically for years. So
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I feel
because I
like
remember a quote from RE5. My bad for him, but I remember just said that Wesker doesn't give a damn about anyone by himself, and that is very true.
Yeah, that's what Chris said on RE5.
And
yeah,
mean,
but just
that's
because he's
also
got
kind of
kids doesn't. Sorry, go on, my dear.
sorry. Oh, I was just gonna say that's kind of how he carries himself as well. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about anyone. So
oh yeah,
it is
But-
weird.
I mean, clearly, in 5, he was just trying to infect the entire world. He didn't give a shit.
Yeah, but in 5 he was a cartoon character, really, more than what he was
complete level
previously.
saturation.
So,
Never
and
forget
besides,
that.
just because he's kids doesn't mean he's boinked someone. It could just be like genetic DNA transferring, all that stuff. You know,
DNA
got
transfer.
all
That
the
is
time.
true.
That's
I was
probably-
gonna-
It could
That
well
is
be
very true.
more-
I could see that
I
being
mean,
the case.
Wesker himself is a test tube baby, so it could well be more the same.
Hmm.
Yeah, but
I
You're right,
guess
you're
as
absolutely
much
right.
as much as Resident Evil is in the whole, it is a science fiction genre in of itself, just because of all the shit they get up to. I could definitely see that would be more believable than, oh yeah, by the way, I had sex with this woman 15 years ago. These are my kids. Like I think they would be test tube babies more than anything.
I just
Yep.
thought about something though. Like even if they aren't his actual kids, it's still kind of baffles me that like he would have kids that he's like taking care of. I'm assuming like he took care of them. Like they moved to New Raccoon City together. Like because
Could be
again, he
taken
doesn't
care
care
of from
about
a
anyone.
distance. I mean, who knows? Until we see it, we're not going to know.
Yeah, I want to 100% believe if they want to do this right, then he should go the abandonment route, right? Because he sort of
yeah.
did that in RE6, where it's like as soon as he had sex with this woman, he was like, "I'm done, I'm out, peace." And then Jake's mom never heard of him for years after that. She took care of Jake on his own. So if they were to at least try, then I would expect them to go that route instead.
Hmm.
Nah, it can be something that they can maybe they can probably work it out. I'm pretty sure they can work it out. But the thing is that they can have uh like the atmosphere like right and everything, but maybe like the plot or the original things taken from the games. I'm that's what we're pretty unsure of. Like we don't know if they can work those things into the series like really well. Like taking the game characters in the series, we don't know if they can really convert them rightly.
But I think we do need to move on to the main attraction here, which is the actual Resident Evil movies themselves and our personal thoughts on them and what needs to improve if they decide to make another movie. So where to begin? I just want to start with you, Black Shadow. I want to know what is your opinions on the RE movies, and then we'll just go around the table.
So, I mean, it's so hard because the Resident Evil movie franchise encompasses a heck of a lot. Obviously, they've been releasing films over the course of what about 12 years, I think it was, for all 6 movies. Development for the first film actually started about 5 years prior to release. It went through multiple scripts from all sorts of people, including George A. Romero of all people. Actually written a script for it which got rejected in the end. Um, Again, this comes to the issue of it's something I've had when I've done my series on like Resident Evil 2 remake, Resident Evil 3 remake. There are people who believe that when you have something like Resident Evil and you put something on its name and they expect it to be relevant and relatable to the main series, and then you don't, there are people who get offended by that. I don't think that's necessarily an issue. I think that if you're going to take creative license with a story, then you might as well go crazy with it. And to be fair, some of the original scripts for Resident Evil 1, the first film at least, were almost identical actually to the original game, believe it or not, until, of course, Paul Anderson got a hold of it and decided otherwise. I just want to quickly say there was, I did some research for this. There was an interview he gave to Shivers Magazine talking about his development for RE1. And he said specifically, to be scary, you have to be unpredictable. And that's why he felt completely free to reinvent the story and use his own set of fresh characters. He makes a good point that if you use Jill Valentine in movie 1, you know she's not going to die because she obviously she's going to appear up. So the idea was to bring people that you know that were new that you didn't know, so you didn't know who was going to die or not, which makes some degree of sense. Of course, you know the story got more and more crazy as we went on. They then done more direct tie-ins with bringing Jill with Carlos and lots of other characters, Claire with Aguilar and all the rest of it. Um, I think you have to be willing to heavily suspend your disbelief to enjoy them. And to be fair, I think they had some fun action sequences in them, although some of it was heavily CGI'd. But it's easy to ridicule the series towards the back end. That is the issue you have. Personally, I've watched them. Would I watch them again? Maybe if I was getting paid to, probably. But outside of that, it's you know, it's it's easy to criticize, but it's also a noble attempt to take something that has existed and to kind of change it into something totally brand new. So it's kind of, is that something that a person is actually happy with them doing in the first place? And if you don't, then you've got a problem. If you're willing to go with that, then you're willing to try it, watch it, and see what it's like. But yeah, personally, like beyond like about movie 2, movie 3, yeah, you had to like it, otherwise, oh my god, did the plot go nuts?
Yeah, I feel like I really don't like these movies, and the reason is because they divert so much and they take so many liberties that I feel as though it's not really good with some of them. Now, granted, I enjoyed the first film. I thought that was great. I thought that was a really good attempt at trying to do something fresh when they did. But as you said, it's very easy to criticize the back half because that's where things started getting very inconsistent. Even with the lore they try to establish themselves. I think that if they had the same quality of the original first movie, and maybe some of the second, because some of the second movie was entertaining, I'm not gonna lie. I did like that scene with the guy Mike Epps going around and doing crazy things. I thought that was funny, and you have
Was that LJ? Was that?
Yeah, LJ.
Yeah,
Yeah,
LJ.
LJ.
He-
LJ
Mayday?
was like so on the line of being racist, but amusingly so. It was very dangerous at times. But hey, he was a good actor. He did a good job.
Well,
it was good comedy relief.
Yes.
I mean, that's where Day went after the Friday movies ended.
Yeah, but like as I was saying, I think that if they had some great ideas, but if they really kept consistent with those core ideas and took them forward instead of like having these weird moments where Alice has clones and mind control and characters that you really care for, they're not really super fleshed out in the later movies compared to that, and then you have people coming back to life. It just gets really confusing after a short period of time. So I do agree with your logic that you really have to shut your brain off and really get into these movies that way, because it's the only way to really believe half of the stuff going on. I just wish that it was a better job at it, because I'm not even gonna say that Paul Anderson is really a hack like most people. I do believe that he made a solid first movie, and some of the second movie was decent, and also Mortal Kombat, great fucking movie, great film
Yeah.
of video game
Yeah,
movies.
it was the first one of its kind to be successful.
Yeah, so
Found out a lot.
it just feels like those issues could have been a lot more like focused and fleshed out and non-existent.
I mean, I totally agree. But then you have the issue of that for people who've watched the lore and know the games, it's more offensive. Whereas you take to a more general audience who may not care about that so much and just want kind of 2.5 hours at a cinema of watching crazy action and all that sort of stuff, then it doesn't matter. I mean, like, you can't say the series wasn't successful. In all 6 films, the series has grossed well over $1 billion. The final chapter was the most successful monetary film out of the lot. So they can't say that 5 years of poor movies led up to a 6th even worse. It was the best grossing of the lot. So that must tell you something about the people that were going to watch it. And it's, again, like having played Resident Evil for way too many goddamn years at this point. Like, and I look at what they took and what they did with it. Like, in some ways it's easy to like feel offended by some of the decisions they took. And yeah, Alice gained telekinesis powers because she got injected by the T virus, and that was crazy. She had clones. Some of the doctors had clones. They were going to spread the T virus across the world and cryogenically freeze people in the end of the film, all the high execs, and rule the world after they came out of it. I mean, that is some absolute B movie science, sci-fi nonsense, but it worked apparently. People came to watch the film, so who am I to judge?
I'm just gonna say this, and then I'm gonna let everyone else go.
Yeah.
I think the philosophy it's been said before, but I think Jordan Voight Roberts, he said it himself. You gotta have like two things. You gotta have the source material, and you have to understand that migrating a game to a movie is not the same thing. He said this about most directors and why video game movies get this stigma, because most video game movies, they don't pay attention to any of the source material. They always try to do something new, and that new thing doesn't turn out to be good. They just think that it's super ambitious, and that some like directors, they do it for a paycheck. Like Uebo, for example, he goes around, just made a bunch of video game movies and only did it to get money. And I think he admitted to that because of some German tax fraud or something like that. I forgot what the loop was, but
Yeah.
you got to have the right visionaries in play. And if you don't, then I think number one, you got to have people to actually play these games, because I think Paul Anderson admitted that he only played RE4 and that was it. He had some
Not
knowledge.
technically true.
Well,
Not technically true, actually.
well,
Really?
I
Go
don't
on.
know why his wife said that he only really experienced RE4 and that was it. Now maybe later on he played RE5, because I think Afterlife, was that the one that had the Magini dogs and it had a lot of material from RE5? He might have
There was a
played
lot of
that.
relation to it.
think
Yeah.
Yes,
so.
it was.
Yeah, I
I
think.
believe so.
Yeah, he might have also gained source material from that as well. And it is good to see that stuff, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, I
That's
agree.
true.
I'll say one more thing and I'll let everyone else in. But yeah, he actually ended up playing a lot of how he got into the series was by playing the original Resident Evil. Funnily enough, it was mentioned. I mentioned about George A. Romero, who was mentioned in the chat. He did do the Japanese live action trailer, the commercial that was only released in Japan for Resident Evil 2. That's how he kind of got on board, and that fell apart. Anderson had actually been playing like the original Resident Evil. He built like a script off of that, which he admitted if he'd have actually released, he probably would have got sued for. But he was already in contact with Constantine Film, who of course developed the entire film series, and he gave over the script to see what they thought of it. They really liked it, and so they thought, let's give this a go and kind of see what we can do with Anderson. And then here we are, 20 years later, nearly, a $1.2 billion richer. I'm sure they probably think that, no, it was a good decision, whether we do or not.
Oh, execs, they definitely think that was a very high success, and mostly they will want to go where the money goes. That's why I think that's why they're giving this new series a chance and not really thinking about what is going on after the fact or how people feel about it now. They just want to see if they can get it out there as soon as possible and see where the feelers are.
Yeah, there'll always be people who don't like the modifying of source material, and you'll never please them, whatever you do. So you have to kind of go past that and just try it. And there's no harm in trying sometimes. And I wish them all the best, to say with the Netflix. But I could have said the same about the movies. And then we had people flying around and clones and whatever else. And there was a point where I was like, yeah, maybe this has gone a bit far.
All right, so Des, how do you feel about the Ari movies?
So to be honest, and I know that they're not the best, but it is my favorite. It's my favorite. It's my favorite series. Like it really is. I did rewatch the last two. I do realize that the last two are like not good, but I couldn't help it. I do agree that they did go a little far with it. Just because it did get confusing after a while. Like I couldn't remember the last like 2, 3 movies. I had to rewatch them because it was just like the first two. I feel like were definitely the best. Maybe the first three because the third one is my favorite. But it got really it did end up getting pretty crazy after a while. And after like when I first started watching them, I was obviously young, like I didn't really play Resident Evil at all, but I did very much enjoy the first 2 movies, the first 3 movies. And then once I had gotten the chance to play the games, I was just like, well, how did it end up so different, you know? Like how did we end up with this one character that just seems so overpowered? Like when nobody besides like Wesker, I feel like
Mm.
should have been like that. I don't know. But I don't know. There was a lot. There was I feel like that's all I want to
Anyone
say
else
for
want
now.
to jump in?
I guess I'll take it. How do I put this? At the time, I liked the movies growing up because, like I told you, I didn't get into Resident Evil till the fourth game, and I did enjoy the first two movies. Well, the first three movies, but it got really stupid at some point because I don't know. It's like when they started getting all the characters and then they started all this crap with us, like Brent said, bringing back characters, cloning all this. And I remember one time they said Barry was going to be in the newest one. I was really hyped. And when I actually went to the theater, Barry legit dies like the moment he's introduced. Like he just falls down dead. I was like, wait, that's it? Are you serious? I was just like really pissed off. I was like, I'm done. Fuck this movie. I'm leaving. Fuck these movies. Garbage. Yeah, I was just like really pissed off because they hyped him up so much and then he actually appears and it's just like, really, dude? That's it? Like, I don't know, the movies got stupider and super. I just stopped caring after a while, and everything else is a terrible character. Like, she's all she really is just a Mary Stu character, which I really hate that trope with a passion. And it really doesn't help she's gonna be in Monster, which, oh boy. Oh, that's all I have to say on Resident Evil, though. Movies are alright.
Can I add something?
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Okay, so I feel like, you know, later on, like I guess not really talking about like Nemesis. I mean, I kind of hate that he was brought in and then just killed super easily. It just I don't know, but it just felt like with any of the other like weapons, the bioweapons that they had, like especially like I said in the last two, I just rewatched those, so those are the freshest in my memory right now.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like, you know, they would be like a huge threat. And I think one thing that kind of like was a big turnoff for me was they got killed off like super quickly. And it's like, yeah, and I think by the last like two or three movies, Alice did not have her powers. And so like it was just really weird to me and it just felt super unrealistic that she was able to take so much damage and she was able to do so much like without having these powers and she was just a regular human. Like, I don't know. I just felt really weird about the monsters. Like, especially with the Hell Knight looking one. I was like, oh, that one looks cool. That's probably gonna do some damage. Nope, it died 2 seconds later.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, I
Wesker got
remember
killed by a door.
What?
Fucking
Officially.
Wesker
Oh, yeah, Ren
got
didn't
killed
know
by
that.
a
No,
fucking
I-
door.
okay.
No, he
After,
didn't.
after being fired.
Yes.
No,
Fair
yeah,
enough.
because okay, the Red Queen had said like, "Hey, I can't kill any employees," so he got fired. She injured him with the door. He died. I feel like he died in the explosion. But,
His leg cut off, bro.
but I really,
They
but I
did my
started
boy wrong.
literally dying. I said Wesker is like the most OP character, and y'all did him like that. Are you kidding me?
At least him going out in like a volcano was like they actually had to take so much effort to kill him.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
makes
they
sense,
did
but it's like,
so
bro,
much.
a door. That's
The
like
Infinite Ammo
saying
Syndicate
Leon
would
can-
like to... Go on. Go on.
That's like saying Leon getting killed by an escalator.
As I said, the Infinite Ammo
Just
Syndicate
trips
would
and
like to
falls down.
remind viewers that there may be spoilers talked about here, so we're sorry if you're
Oh.
offended and haven't seen the films
Yeah,
yet.
my bad.
Oh yeah, this is a
Yeah,
spoiler
you're good.
cast. Sorry,
Oh
people.
my god.
Big spoiler alert, like.
But I only stopped watching like at Afterlife, so I had no idea about the stuff about Wesker being killed by a door. That makes me cringe.
Yeah.
I
I think
said-
with quite a few people did actually.
Honestly,
They've
like
played the series.
characters, Wesker is definitely a character that they did dirty, but I feel like there were so many. Like Jill, I really wish that we could have gotten a little more out of her. There was Claire who popped in every other movie. It seemed like it just you know, and then Chris. Like when you finally get Chris, and like Chris and Claire have this they reunite and they take out or well quote unquote take out Wesker. You know, Wesker doesn't like die that easily, which kind of Yes, but it's just like you get all the characters from the game,
Ironically.
and it just they're put in for like a second, and then you just never hear from them again. And it's like, oh, you get super excited because it's like, yes, they're from the games. Finally, they're incorporating something, and then nothing comes of it. It's kind of it's like a huge disappointment. I feel like.
There were some bright spots that I will give a props to Oded Fair. I am an Oded Fair fan, so it's probably not
Mhm.
really fair, but I think he actually did cast really well.
Agreed.
He's my bright spot of the series by a long way.
I
I'm a
agree.
massive
I
Fair
did
fan.
really
I
like
agree.
the.
Carlos was
I
awesome.
like the actress who I like the actress who played Jill. Actually, I thought
Yes,
she did a
Sienna.
Oh,
pretty
Sienna.
good job.
Yes, you
Hillary.
did so well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what it
I
must have been like filming that at Toronto in the middle of the night? In that outfit, that must have been fucking tough.
Very, very true.
Also,
basically
go
what
ahead.
this is saying about sorry
Mhm.
what this is saying basically about Chris and Claire, it's the main problem that I have with every character that they get in the films. Like, I know Alice, yeah, I know her, and you get to know like, oh, there's Jill in there, and she appears like 2 times, and then suddenly she's out. And in the final film, they don't even say like, "Oh, she died." No, no, no. You gotta like suppose that they died. Like,
There were
where's
a few
Leon? Where's
characters that they just
Can
left
I?
out in the final film, yes.
There were
yeah,
yeah, but I don't even really think that you can even go that far as to say, oh, I suppose they died because, like, we had Jill in Apocalypse, and then she randomly came back, and apparently she was brainwashed. Like how? I mean, you gotta like, I
This is
guess figure that
science.
out. But but
yeah,
then
You gotta
when she
tie the
becomes,
Resident Evil 5 somehow.
but then
yeah.
Mhm.
but then Alice, she takes the stupid trinket off of her and she's no longer brainwashed, but then she still doesn't pop up in the last movie. So that's a thing. And then again, like same with Claire, like she popped up every other movie. She ended up ultimately helping Alice in the last movie. And then the last movie just ends with Alice riding off into the sunset. And it's like, well, so did we just leave Claire alone? Like what's happening? We still don't get a proper end story for any of these characters.
The
Exactly.
irony of that is that Resident Evil was a series been doing that for over 20 years of just sailing to the
Oh,
sunset, and so many questions then unfulfilled. So you're
oh,
Oh
ironically
yeah,
right on the
that's
money.
that's been happening for a long time.
so
But they
at
do
least the
answer.
movies ended in the same fashion as the games.
That honestly,
At
yeah,
least
you're
they did.
right.
At
You
least
are
they
right.
did
It's
one thing
just
right.
I feel like with movies though, like with the games, like they can probably keep pumping out games and it's whatever. Like I feel like most Resident Evil fans are probably gonna go for it. But like with the movies, especially with like ending it with the final chapter, it's like, well, what happened to the rest of these characters that we ended up, kind of sort of following? I feel like with movies it's one thing. And then with
There,
games
there,
it's like
there were definitely a few loose ends that needed tying
It's
in the
a
last chapter.
giant, a
No,
bunch of giant plot holes. That's the issue.
no,
Oh
it's not.
no.
It's not just like simple plot holes. Like, there are supposed to be like official novelizations of the movies, and when the novelization of the final movie came out in the book, they specifically say that like the deaf child that Alice finds in like the fifth movie, the like Chris, Claire, Jill, and all the other characters that in the second to last film, that they are in the White House, all of those characters, like, they are dead. They say that in the book, but in the film they never say that. Like, just Alice wakes up, like everything is destroyed, like just a fucking desert, and there's no one. You're like, oh, did they capture them? Did they die? They were where are they? Well, just poof, they vanished. That's the problem that I have with the movies. Like, a lot of characters just like
That's the problem.
disappear. Well, one of the problems. I was gonna say one of one of the main problems with those films, like, they put characters and then they just disappear out of nowhere, and you gotta like read the novels or like extra material to know what happened to them. Like, are they dead? Are they have they disappeared? Are they infected? Or have they been transformed? I don't know. Well, you gotta read the books so that you can know where the hell is Chris Redfield. Chris is fucking dead.
oh,
Oh yeah.
wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
I bet you.
Yeah, I
I
didn't know
wonder how
that.
many Resident Evil fans got pissed off when they read the novel to hear that Chris died, and it's like, what the fuck? You can't kill Chris. You can't kill Leon. You can't kill Ada. I mean, that's just gonna
Paul
piss
Anderson
off the whole
thinks
fan
differently.
base.
Speaking
Yeah.
of Ada,
I mean,
I feel like they
if
did
that's
a
gonna
lot. They
happen,
did
at
weird.
least it should be in the game.
Mhm.
Like basically you like imagine that you're a fan of Resident Evil and out of a sudden you think like, oh, the movies aren't so bad, they are cool and everything. You read the books and everything and you buy the final book. Like, oh, what's going to happen? Chris is fucking dead. God fucking damn it.
You
Okay,
know what?
so
They probably just did that because it probably took a little less effort to explain where they are.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
play devil's advocate here. I do not mind main character deaths if they are done in a way that's conveyed to the audience that look, this main character is going out of the door. There's no plot armor, etc. I like when people take risks like that. At the same time, I don't like when I have to read a book to understand that a character died or something happened and I have to read the novelization. I feel like the best way to do it is to make like these side stories within the universe and it feels like a metaverse, so you're reading another person's story in the meantime while the main story is continuing. Halo does that perfectly, in my opinion. But this franchise, like doing the novelization for the films, it just does not. So that's why people are pissed when you find out that Chris is dead in the books and the movie does a poor job at explaining it.
There is actually, Ryan, this is kind
Well,
of like
plus, you know,
oh no, you can go.
I was just gonna say real quick. Plus, these are like main characters. It's not like,
It's not like a side character or anything like.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you have a main character and they basically get off-screen death. That feels dirty. Like if
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I hate that shit.
It
I'll do the
hurts.
slight devil
That hurts
advocate
yourself.
here, like,
Yeah.
it does. Well, okay, so like we'll do slight devil's advocate, go just a tiny bit off topic, like with The Last of Us 2. They killed Joel in the beginning.
Spoiler
why
alert.
why
Spoiler alert.
Spoilers.
alert. It's in like the first 2 hours. It's good. And then there's leaks. Everybody knows what happened. But like, he dies in the first 2 hours of the game. You know why it happened. You might not like it, but it shows that the game has consequences, the universe has consequences, and that your main character doesn't have plot armor. If they had just like cut back and been like, oh yeah, Joel died, that would have been infinitely worse. But
Yeah.
like they showed it and they built up to it. Whereas, like you said, with the books, they're just like, it's like a little note at the end is like, oh yeah, by the way, every single main character was in this one place and they all fucking died. The end.
And then Alice wakes up and they don't explain it.
Oh yeah, I was about to say actually. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think-
I remember. I know like one game did a really good job with character death. Well, I don't know if any of you guys played Red Dead Redemption 2, but like I'll say this.
We got more spoilers coming in. See, yeah.
Do you guys want it or no? If you haven't played Red Dead 2,
You can go ahead.
Which
I don't care.
okay, all right. Red Dead 2. But long story short, Arthur Morgan, basically some dude coughs on him, and throughout most of the game you're like, okay, not a big deal. He coughed on me, but Arthur ends up coughing himself, and he starts wheezing, and actually he like falls unconscious a couple times. And then it turns out Arthur actually got tuberculosis, and the thing is, Arthur really doesn't have much to live. He's got maybe a few weeks to live, because back then, like, if you got tuberculosis, well, that was pretty much it for you, because there's, like, no cure for it. Well, there are cures now for it nowadays, but basically, oh yeah, Arthur pretty much didn't have much time going in his life, so he had to make the most out of his life before he, like, finally, passes away from the illness, which he eventually does. And it's kind of funny because in Red Dead Redemption 1, he's not mentioned in Red Dead 1, but I think maybe it makes sense considering that Arthur's death was just like too painful for John to remember. So yeah, so I think that's like a good example. But
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. Like, I don't want the superhero ending for certain characters if the world is supposed to have consequences, because to me that would be a lot more unrealistic considering what they've set up in the previous games. That's why I really didn't mind Joel's death, to be honest. But at the same time,
Exactly.
Yeah.
for like off-screen deaths and shit that's not explained, and then characters that pop up after being like revived because of fan popularity, and there's no explanation to that. We've seen so much worse in media just because of what the fans wanted. So it's not always the most logical thing unless they decide to do some super convoluted or contrived way to explain it. And that's when I really don't like it. As for Arthur's death, I kind of saw that coming because it's a prequel to Red Dead and he's not in the first one. So that one was kind of like coming, but I still felt bad when he finally died. So there is a way to make the main character die where you either hate it, love it, or there's a way where it's beautiful. And that's
Yeah,
one of those
'cause
instances.
oh yeah, because the thing is, Ryan, is like the thing is, Arthur pretty much lives with the disease. Like you don't get like it happens in the cutscene. Well, it does, but you actually live through it through gameplay because it actually affects Arthur's cores, and Arthur loses like a lot of weight. His health core is drained a lot quicker. His aiming is like messed up because like the disease is really taking a huge toll on him, and along with that, if you like inspect Arthur's face, like his eyes are pretty much bloodshot red, and his skin is like really pale. So you can kind of tell like what's gonna happen to him, especially, and he's trying to make the most out of his life,
But yeah,
before he dies.
we're diverging a bit, so we got to go back
Yeah,
to the
my bad.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, back to
I was going to make
gotcha.
one thing, sort of bring it back to the topic with the whole plot changes. That you can make changes to plot of things that exist, and you can get people to accept it, assuming that what you change it to is good. And I think a decent example of that is actually probably the Resident Evil remake games, actually, where Resident Evil 2 in particular, they made changes to the plot, which, again, there are some people I had on my channel who said, no, you must not change the plot, and they were vehemently against it. The game won like Game of the Year, and the changes they made were subtle enough, but the game was good enough that people were okay with it. Resident Evil 3 wasn't so great, so people picked a lot more holes in it. Now, objectively, with the films, they're probably not very good, so people will happily pick holes at the films. But maybe if it was like some of the best films ever made, people probably wouldn't give a damn. That's the weirdness of it.
Yeah, some of the stuff with that, like for example, and I know it's off topic, but it needs to be explained. Like when people were complaining about, oh, well, Leon, his original backstory was he was drunk and his girlfriend broke up with him, and then they just changed it to him being a little bit more aware of what was going on and not getting a phone call and being eager to work at Raccoon City. I didn't have a problem with that. Like I feel like there's things where it might be minuscule to you or it might be a big problem to you, but to someone else it's different in that same vein. And that didn't bug me at all, in my opinion. I was like, okay, they changed his backstory a little bit. He's more eager to work. I don't see the problem.
Exactly. If people are going to get hung up on such minor back details, then you're never going to satisfy them. I think what you have to do is you have to try and deliver an objectively good media, be it a game, be it a film, be it whatever. And you can't please everyone. That will never happen. And that is obvious with the films. You go on like Rotten Tomatoes and that. All the films have not got particularly good ratings, but they made shit tons of money. So you know the two don't necessarily match, but it doesn't necessarily matter. You don't have to, with something like Resident Evil, it's easy to appeal to those who know the series, which in fact is what happened with some of the original, say George A. Romero. It's what he was going to do, but it got canned because they thought, well, then we'll make a great film, but it's very limited audience. We need to try and do something that's a bit more wider reaching, and that's why they went the way they did. They totally changed everything and thought, right, we're going to get all these people, we're going to line them up, and we're going to do whatever the fuck we want with them. And it worked sort of. But no, if you're a fan of the series, it's difficult to look at it and see some of the things they've done, and yeah, it hurts some of the changes they've made. But
Yeah.
$1 billion,
Yeah.
I'd say that's you can't argue with that.
Yeah. I think another thing that a lot of people also have to take into mind whenever there's a video game adaptation is that I'll use DMC as an example. DMC, there's a lot of over the top stuff that happens in the cutscenes and everything, and trying to get that into a live action film, it's very challenging. So there might be some changes that they will have to make to try to keep it as DMC as much as DMC as possible. And I think there's like a few good examples of some minuscule changes in video game movies. Like I think
Because you have to.
Yeah.
Also, I just if you heard that song on the podcast or that sound, I clicked the Wesker death scene by accident. I'm just like I can't fucking believe this. Killed by a dog.
I mean, what can you do, man?
You find 2.5 hours of your time one evening, sit down with a big bag of popcorn and something to drink, and
Wesker.
try and enjoy.
It looked like it cut his
Wesker
foot off.
jobbed
Red
harder-
watched it.
Oh my god, it's so funny in motion. I swear, dude.
Dude, Wesker jobbed harder than Daniel Bryan.
Ouch.
I have a good side question actually for this. Is there anything that you guys want them to adapt to film from the Resident Evil universe that they quite haven't done yet in any of the movies?
That's a tough one.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a
actually.
good
Yeah.
question.
I got something. I loved Resident Evil 7 when it came out. I love that kind of first person survival horror kind. Like, I played the teaser and it was amazing. I was like, damn, this is like amazing. I know it's still Resident Evil, but it feels like a horror movie and I love that. And I will definitely love like an adaptation like in more of a horror kind of esque uh style
Like a
of
Louisiana
Resident Evil.
bayou that's, completely uninhabited.
I think you mean something kind of like smaller scale instead of
Small
focusing
scale?
on big huge
Yeah.
umbrella. It's more like small scale horror that's still Resident Evil.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
I like that.
agree.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
I'm down with that.
I was having a conversation with someone about that actually. It was like, it would be really cool if they just did Resident Evil 7 as a movie. Obviously, they'd have to make changes because you can't put like the little puzzles or like the little like the little stuff that would probably not transfer over.
Mhm.
But like, having someone stuck in a house, trying to escape, dealing with this crazy family, like I
I
mean, I
mean,
feel
you
like
just take like
it's
half the
been
plot of
done, but
Saw and
like
just modify it, really.
I,
I mean,
you know,
that
as
would
I
be good.
started saying that, I was like, "Oh, Saw."
Yeah, exactly. That's what you
Yeah.
think of. It's the same idea.
Saw.
But again, Saw went for how many films of Saw did they make? Six
Oh
of
God, they
those.
made so. Was it
Right.
only
They-
6?
No, it was like
I feel like it was
8.
more
think
than
6
that.
or
Hey,
7.
Yeah.
I lost count. Exactly.
I think it's
that
like
works.
7,
It
7,
shows there
8.
is an audience for that sort of thing. It
I
can be made to
think
work.
I mean,
I think there are
I really
8.
like.
Hold on, there's one at a time, people, one at a time.
Give it that. Give it.
Go ahead,
I was
Deadman.
just gonna say there's 8 movies and there's a new one that's supposed to be coming out. Well, it was this year, but I don't know if it's gonna be delayed or not. But they're coming out with a new one too, so that would
Wait.
make it 9 total.
Is
Yeah.
it that one? Is it Saw? I might be thinking of the wrong. It had the Saw like music in the background, but I don't think it was called.
Yeah, no, it's
Saw.
called Spiral.
Oh, okay, okay. Couldn't remember the title.
It's with one of those guys. I always forget their names, but it's one of the K and Pelé guys, isn't it?
You're talking about Key and Pill, I think.
I feel yeah. I
Oh,
always
it's
forget. Like
it's a dude-
Way
it's
out, right?
rock
Or
I
not
think it's
that
with
way.
Jordan Key. I think. I may be wrong. I remember seeing like his
Uh,
name.
I don't know.
I think
shrug
he's
about it,
attached. I just know that one of them is doing the movie, but yeah. For back on topic, any source material for them to adapt for RE movies? Anyone else have any answers to that?
I wouldn't mind seeing I wouldn't mind seeing RE2 get adapted. That'd be pretty neat. Or RE3.
Well, they already
That's
did
my big
RE3.
I feel like
was- I'm-
RE3 would be good, especially because again, like with Resident Evil Apocalypse, you did have Nemesis just kind of chasing you around, or they had Nemesis chasing them around the city. But
I'm gonna,
Mhm.
yeah, I was gonna make probably a controversial topic name. I was perhaps thinking of naming RE6, and the reason I name RE6, I know there's good people who hear this and will think I'm insane, which I am, but I've always loved the idea of plots where you've got separate sets of characters, but their actions and what they're doing is all intertwining in like a sort of a background web. And I think if that was done really well, that could be really nice. Obviously, there's a couple places they tie in. Everyone has their own thoughts about RE6, of course. I didn't do it that long ago. I actually don't think it's that bad as people remember. There's some good bits to it, but I think something like that with a couple of pairings off here and there, doing different things. But as long as the game doesn't treat the audience with like idiocy and is able to tie in sort of things together, I think that could be pretty well done.
That would be cool, yeah. Especially if they, obviously it would probably have to be quite a few movies for them to do
I
that.
mean,
They might need a couple, and they also would need to take out that goddamn silly death of Piers, not because Piers died, it's just the scene was absurd. I cannot get over that
Yeah,
whole
it was really ridiculous.
last 20 minutes. What the hell?
I thought that
Can't
scene was
go with
cool. Actually, like it really got me
I
emotional.
It was a
It was
cool
cool,
scene,
though, yeah.
but the logic gap was I couldn't take it. I couldn't do
think I've played-
it.
I can't really remember. I remember being sad about it. I haven't played Chris's campaign since the game
Dear.
launched.
But that'd be my shout. That'd be my shout. The RE6, I think, if done well, that could actually be pretty cool.
I think
you
maybe
mean
like.
something
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
oh, I was asking, something like what they did with Dunkirk, maybe.
I've never
Seems
seen
to
that
be a shout.
movie.
But yeah, it's
Good
just
movie.
you can cursory people, and just haven't found the plot. I mean, there was a lot of insanity, of course. And yeah, you might need a couple of movies to do it all, but
I would like to
just did
see.
6.
Yeah.
I would like to see. Well, RE2 how they have the A and B scenarios. I would probably like to see something like that where you have 2 focal characters, and the first one you focus on for like the first hour, then you focus on the second guy, and then it all like intertwines at the end. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
As we said, Resident Evil is a very good source material if used correctly. And we've seen both the pros and sadly the cons of that over the course of 20 years. So
Yep.
Mm.
I will say my point real quick, and I also didn't get to do my what I thought about the movies, which really it's pretty short. I mean, I didn't think they were the worst movies in the world. I didn't really think they were the best. As far as adaptations go, they're decent in the in the first few movies, but then obviously after that it's just why why am I watching this?
I mean, there's worse out there.
Oh yeah, there definitely is. But those are kind of my things. Like how everybody's like, this is a really good bad movie to watch. That's kind of how I feel about Resident Evil.
it is a little bit.
Yes.
If
They're
anything,
not awful movies, but I mean,
Exactly.
it's kind of one of those like you have to, and it's like you guys said before, you have to go in with a little bit of suspension of disbelief, especially if you're an old time gamer for it. As I said before, I'm not a longtime Resident Evil fan. I came in at 4, and I haven't played anything before 4 came out. So even as a still new person to the series, newish, I still thought the movies are good in their own right, but they did go way off the rails, especially with Alice. I would have been fine with her being a super badass mercenary. It was definitely the god powers that killed it, which is why I'm almost 100% positive they nerfed her at the beginning of the 4th movie. They're like, you're just a little
Yeah.
too.
Give me back
Well, I mean,
my powers.
I think
Yeah,
that
back
might
my
be why.
property.
Might be why the first film is quite well regarded amongst all the rest, because the plot hadn't kind of lost its mind by that point, and even if it didn't really matter if you had or hadn't played the series, because most of the plot of the movie didn't really matter. It was only some back plot of the game and some kind of cursory information that was related to the series. Other than that, it was a horror flick, really. It didn't matter if you played the game or not, because Alice didn't exist, the SWAT team didn't exist. No one in that game existed really in the film. It was all brand new, so that's probably why it's one of the better regarded.
And that was actually going to kind of roll into the point that we're on about what would you like to see brought from the games. It's more so brought from the first movie. I think the reason the first movie works so well is because they were in that tight space, which granted the hive is still huge, but it's still an enclosed space underground, and there's still a bunch of corners and everything. The reason I think it worked so well is because they focused on one set and they had one goal in mind, and they didn't try to get too crazy with it. Now, granted, with the series, you might want them to move a little bit, but not having with some of the other ones, they go all over the world with the movies. They're in the US at one point, and then they're in Tokyo at one point, and I'm wanting to say they're like somewhere in Europe at some point, but
they were on a ship, and a lot of things happened.
They were on a ship. They went all over the place with the movies, and it's like, yeah, I get that you want to kind of go up because it's not like the game stayed in one place, but if you're going to do something like that, it's got to be good. So if you
tough to pull off.
I think the reason the first one worked best is just because it's like you said, it's the closest to an actual horror
Yeah.
movie that any of them got. Apocalypse, to a little bit of a lesser extent, there was some sweaty moments in Apocalypse, but I mean, for the most part, the first one was just really good because it hadn't
Yeah,
quite
it's a solid film.
ramped up stupid levels yet.
Yeah.
So,
And I don't-
no,
Can we all agree? Can we all agree on something about the first film? The laser corridor scene. I love that scene.
Yes,
yeah,
It was the
and
best scene in the
everyone said
movie.
it. Yeah,
I liked
yeah,
it.
yeah.
the laser
Really
scene
good.
is the best.
Just the
Um,
laser room in any of the movies, because it was in the third movie, it was in the final movie, I think, as well. It's
I
just
think
the
yes,
laser room has
Yeah, it did throw it in,
always,
yes.
always been my favorite.
Yeah,
But in
it's
the
definitely one of the
first
most
film-
famous scenes of the film, for sure.
Yeah, in the first film,
Oh,
like
for
it's
sure.
amazingly worked.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
think
best
the
scene.
first
In the
Exactly.
movie.
time, yeah, because the
Somebody-
first time oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it's the
Oh.
best scene in the movie, and like I was gonna make a question about like best scenes, but I can't think of anything else outside of that that's like super memorable. Maybe them fighting the executioner in Afterlife, but nothing compares to that laser scene to me. I think the tension was there, it was perfect, and they just turned it into, because I can clearly see they reeled it from RE4, like no mistaking it, but they made it very tense and very like horrific, people getting chopped up left and right. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
again,
That
it was also
awesome.
yeah, I think again, like also like it
That's
was in the
actually
third
what I was-
movie.
Oh, go ahead, Des.
That's
Oh, I was
what
gonna say.
I was gonna say. Just real quick, I was actually gonna say that.
Okay.
Who did that first, the movie or the game?
The game did
So,
it
It was
first.
pretty close. It was pretty close. I think the movie just.
But let Des go for this one.
No, I was just gonna say, so again, like I think it was also in the third one, you had that scene, you didn't think you were gonna go back to the laser, or actually it popped up twice in that movie. Wasn't as serious the first time, but the second time you have Alice fighting that tyrant. So like it's in there. By the end of it, you think she's gonna die. And it's like it's just super tense, super sweaty. Like I remember being really freaked out about it because like didn't want Alice to die. And you know, it's just it was crazy. You know, you're fighting something, you're not just in there trying to escape.
Oh wait, my brain is killing me. The first movie came out in 2002, right? I don't know why it was.
2000 Yes, 2002, I think it was.
I don't know why I was thinking that the game did it first. I don't know why. That was my
No,
bad.
no, no. It was the film.
No,
Not by
it was the
much,
film.
but it was the film.
Yeah.
Though they might have been,
I will say
Capcom
that
for
was-
it anyways.
Probably, but I will say that was I really like that they included that in 4 because it's like that first scene was so tense and minus the whole how the fuck did the EMP survive that whole thing that we had talked about in chat a few weeks back. Minus that whole scene was just phenomenal and it was so tense and especially even up to the end you were like, okay, maybe that captain can make it through. And then that laser just split the big grid, and you're like, "Oh no, he
No.
is fucked."
Mm-mm. As soon as
Yeah.
it turned into a net
Yeah.
like Cyrax, he was done.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna make it. He's gonna make it. Cool. Nope.
Poor dude turned into some packaged ham. Got spliced into pieces of ham.
But
So I don't know. I don't know if I'd say it's an iconic scene, but it doesn't feel like it's actually that far from it. It's very, very cool. It's one of the best parts of the
I
series
would
for sure.
definitely say it is an iconic scene. Because,
You think so?
It's like we were talking. Yeah, because like we were talking about, we were gonna discuss the most iconic scenes out of the series, but bar none, it's got to be the laser hallways.
It's
I
the
mean,
most notable,
there's
for
a
sure.
couple here and there. Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and I forget who said it first, but like we were talking about with the executioner scene in it was I don't think it was.
I think that was.
Afterlife, it the one after.
I think that was
Afterlife.
me.
I think it was
I
Afterlife.
Was it
lose
Afterlife?
track.
Yeah,
It's all a blur.
It's
If
all
I
a
remember,
blur.
it was Afterlife.
No, it was in the fourth one because that was after she got nerfed.
Is
But
it
anyway,
Extinction?
yeah, Extinction. I
No,
think.
Extinction is the third, isn't it?
Or
Yes,
no,
it is. It is.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
no,
it
I'm
was
sorry. I
movie.
didn't get that mixed up. Afterlife is the third one, and Extinction
It's-
is the fourth one.
No,
was my
it's
bad.
if I remember
No,
right, it's Resident
Extinction
Evil.
is the third one. After
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I got
Resident
pulled
Evil,
up on Google.
Apocalypse, Extinction, Afterlife, Retribution, and then the final chapter is
Yep,
the sixth
You're
one.
right. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That was my bad. I got them mixed up. But anyway, yeah, to like in my eyes, those are honestly just recalling off of my memory. Those are the only two things. That and the church from Apocalypse are like
With
Oh,
the
yeah.
those are my most
liquors.
memorable
Yeah.
movies. Well, because like I mean, the church was an extended scene, but it was so tense because you had what was it, 2 or 3 liquors that was in the church, and they had like no firepower, and they had to
Right.
like think their way out. It was a tense scene.
Yeah, and you had the stuff with the Jill, obviously, and they had a couple of them had gone into the side room where you had the pastor and his daughter, I think it was, and so you had that going on at the same time. I believe,
Isn't that the scene
Or is-
where Alice like breaks one of her fingers and she's just like taking it and just like cracking like. Mm.
Ugh.
It wasn't that
Goodness.
scene, but it was that movie. It was after she had first met up with Nemesis, and
Oh,
she
yeah.
was like running, and then she just like goes in the back alley, just had to set it in place and do that just small eye of like, oh god, that hurt, but I can't make any noise.
I remember that scene.
Yes.
I
That crack.
I think another good one
Crack.
was the first zombie encounter in the first movie, because the first time you see them is like, oh, they look like regular people just shambling a little bit, but the fans know they're zombies, and then that guy turns around and half his face is like just missing,
Oh.
and then
Oh,
everyone's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And then
They knew what they were doing with the
And the-
tie-ins. I mean, even like the theatrical trailer simply says "survive the horror." They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
They knew who
Oh
they
yeah,
were playing.
definitely.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that I always
going
had.
back to that first zombie scene too. Plus,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
good.
you've got other characters like Rain, who's my second favorite next to Alice. You know, she's just nonchalant about it. The other dude's like, "You shot her," and she was just like, "She bit me."
Yeah, that's fine. It's good.
Random
Let's say there was some good
comeback.
moments.
Remember his character?
That's good stuff.
Like she
Remember,
doesn't give a fuck.
You guys remember
Yeah.
this with Wesker, the fight scene?
Oh, you mean
was all-
the exact copy from Resident Evil 5? Because that's what it was.
Yes,
It was almost done so well up until the end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
I
yeah.
agree.
Didn't they try to make Afterlife 3D too?
I swear they
Afterlife
did,
was
didn't
I
they?
believe they did.
It is 3D. Like if I remember, the poster, the like theatrical posters and everything, they say like Resident Evil Afterlife 3D and like big things. Like if you see some of the scenes in the movie,
Yeah, because
you can really see like the
Yeah, I was gonna
3D style.
scenes, some of the scenes are like, even if you're not watching it in 3D, you know it's supposed to be meant to. Like, whichever Final Destination was like leaning hard into the 3D. There was so much stuff going on.
I
in there
think it
that
was the
supposed
fourth
to, like,
one.
pop at your
I think it
face.
was fourth.
It might have been.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
actually,
they were like the final chapter of Final Destination in 3D.
while I was seeing just talking about 3D, today I was finishing watching the CGI films, and I noticed also some of those scenes in the Damnation film, and I was like, wait, was this movie meant to be like 3D? And then I see like some of the movies, some of the like camera angles and everything. I'm like, yeah, this movie was 3D
Hmm.
because it's
Yeah.
very obvious when you see like some of the angles or some like I don't know, like a guy moves a weapon and then the weapon is just like in a point of the camera. You're like, oh, that was supposed to be 3D. Like I was supposed to have like the gun on my face.
You know, one thing I really enjoyed was, and I'm not sure if many people heard about this little film. They released a Resident Evil film that's exclusive to Japan only. They call it Biohazard 4D Executor,
Yes.
and that was brilliant.
This is the Romero one.
No, that's not the remote.
No, that-
Oh no,
that's
not
the
that one.
3D
Oh
one.
no, I know what you're talking about. No, yes, you're right. Sorry, my bad.
It's a 3D like Japanese movie where
Yes,
they focus
yes,
on
forgot
the
about that.
UBCS, and they're going around in I assume it's Raccoon City, and there's this giant infection that's taking over. And I believe one of the scenes, I don't want to spoil it for people that are curious, but one of the scenes at the end is just very brutal, and it's very cool how they ratchet up the tension, and I really enjoyed that movie. Just check it out. It's on YouTube, Biohazard 4D Executor. If they made a Resident Evil movie like that, I would literally lose my shit. That would be great. That'd be great for the next CGI movie, because I believe they said they wanted to focus on Jill and Helena, but they didn't get the green light for that yet. How do you guys feel about that? They want to do another CGI movie with Jill and Helena as main characters.
That would be awesome. I'd be down for it.
I would be against it actually. Now that I think about it, I would be down for it.
I'd definitely watch it for sure for Jill. Like,
The CGI is-
on Helena, but
I
seeing
have
Jill come
always-
back is good.
Yeah, I was thinking like after seeing the three CGI films, I was thinking, why has Jill never appeared like in the CGI film? Like we have Claire, we have Leon, we have Chris, we have Rebecca, but where the hell is Jill?
Yeah,
Like
Jill's
The
been
main
she's
one,
absent.
isn't
basically
she?
the
Yeah.
second protagonist. Where is she?
Yeah, she's back. The only one that's not been in. I don't know what. I mean, to be fair, the CGIs are actually. I think they're not that bad at all. They're worth a look if anyone's ever seen them before. They're actually not
Yeah.
too bad. Again, some of the stuff the last one I did was a bit insane. But I mean, the first CGI I thought was really good.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
I
oh, yeah.
enjoyed the first. I haven't seen the third one. I definitely enjoyed the first two though.
If
Yeah,
you
the
Definitely
first
the
the first
first
one I
one.
really enjoyed.
okay, so
I
Des, you
love
said
that
you
nation.
you never seen the third movie for CGI?
Mm-mm.
It's
The
I
setup?
didn't know about it until like maybe last year, I think, and I just haven't gotten around to getting it.
it's
You should
basically
check it.
I
It's
think
some
my
good
boyfriend
stuff.
has it.
it's basically RE6 just in movie form. I'm not shitting you.
Oh.
Like
Oh,
Mostly, yeah.
it's a
Okay.
lot of
Very-
action,
yeah.
a lot of crazy stuff. I think one of the scenes is Chris doing a body slam on a zombie. This is really ridiculous.
There are
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
three
Oh,
body
son.
slams.
No,
There are
that's
3 body
definitely-
slams.
Resident Evil 6.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there's a scene where a car just rolls over and just explodes for no reason. It just does on a road because why the hell not?
I mean, look at that scene with
There's a
Leon
grenade
and
in it.
look at that scene with Leon in the hall, not the hallway, but Leon on the highway, and he
Yeah,
does
that's what I'm
all
talking
the
about, that scene.
yeah, that's
Oh,
all
yeah.
crazy, dude.
Yeah, it's just total insane madness. But that's Resident Evil in a nutshell. It has its moments where it will do that. It will lose its mind. And you
I
know
don't-
what? Fair play to it.
I was wondering
There's
something
also
while watching quickly. I was wondering something while seeing that scene, like the Howie scene in Vendetta. How little does Leon care about civilian lives? Because there are people in those cars that are driving that they are probably not yet infected because they are driving normally, and then he just drops like a fucking zombie dog into one of them, and let the like a lot of cars and trucks like crash. I'm like, those guys are probably dead.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a family in that car, and you fucking kill them, Leon. Like,
But if he
you
doesn't
don't
save the
care.
day, they'll be dead anyways. I mean,
Yeah,
what's a man to
that's
do?
true.
Small price to pay.
Small
Human
price.
beings and Holly are like superhumans. They can't die.
Small
They
Yeah,
won't
price.
that
survive
as well.
anything.
That as
Yeah.
well.
Any other
I love
opinions
that
on
Rebecca came back.
She came back, but she was just underutilized in that movie. But that's like a whole different topic. But any other opinions on the fourth CGI film that they want to do with these two characters?
No, I do have a general kind of observation for any of the live actions though, and I guess that would go for the CGI movies as well. Is like, I think something they could definitely do to make the movie or TV series just better as a whole is kind of putting some of that more subtle humor like that. Like, it's fucking stupid that Chris power slams a zombie, or Leon roundhouse kicks a zombie, or Chris punches a goddamn boulder while he's fighting a hella mutated Wesker in a volcano. Like, that shit is low key, like, really fucking funny, but they play it off so straight. And, like, I think more of that would be what could work.
I think someone in the server once said that Resident Evil has always had stupid moments, even as games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
Goodness
think-
me.
Definitely.
Yeah,
For
it's like-
25 years.
The
Of
thing
course
is,
they
like,
have, but that's kind of Capcom as a whole too. Is it's not in your face humor where everybody stops and laugh. It's so very subtle that
Goofy
like
and cheesy, right?
like that again. Yeah, it's cheesy. Like I said, Chris power slamming a zombie or punching a boulder in a volcano, but they play it so straight, and that's kind of what makes it funny. It's like, okay, this is ridiculous that Chris is able to do this, but it's funny, and it's even funnier because, like, this is legitimately what's going on. It's not some power fantasy Chris is having, or because he's hopped up on the T-virus or something. This is just something that he literally bumped up to do just because he was going to have to face Wesker again. And it's so funny that you can't help but to like it.
it's all that upper body strength Chris has. Have you seen those arms? Those things are fucking
Basically-
machine guns.
They're pretty big.
Basically,
And
Vendetta was like watching...
Ethan.
And
No, but Vendetta was like watching a Devil May Cry cutscene. That's the thing.
So, well, I don't know what Chris did after Rockford Island, but apparently he got pretty pissed off that his sister got captured and was like, I ain't letting this happen again. Right, time to hit the gym.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
Well, then black market gyms, I suspect, probably, though, because holy god.
thankfully
He just
for
started like
Dom, he said that he wants to do a podcast for Resident Evil inaccuracies and some fallacies, and
Okay, do you have a week?
yeah, that's gonna be long. I just see it
you
coming.
Especially with him knowing how he doesn't like inconsistencies.
Oh yes, we'll be
No,
here forever.
it'll be like
Yep.
we'll be here for like 2 hours or even 3.
What per
A
what
whole
per
day,
cutscene per game?
Whole
Oh,
day,
good grief.
jeez! Oh my god.
That'd be a long one. You'd have to do that carefully.
like, do
gonna
you
be-
remember in Resident Evil 1, second tree, fucking scene 3, jail sandwich?
I mean, I played literally last night. I played Resident Evil 1 on stream, and I was even talking about with the whole scene where with Chris and Rebecca are confronting Wesker in the labs, where he reveals the turret. And there's so many things that make no sense. Why doesn't Chris do something about the gun? He's right in his face. Why does the bullet not kill Rebecca? I know she's got a bulletproof vest. It's still absurd. Why does anything happen? Like, there's so many places you could go. Like, I could be here all day.
Here's
So
the-
anyone who's back on that podcast, are a brave individual.
Here's the thing, though. Resident Evil as a series has always been one that shouldn't and probably hasn't taken itself too seriously.
They try. Okay, I'll say this like to end my point there. They try to do it in the cutscenes and the story. Like at RE5, you can clearly tell with the actors and what's going on, and the same for RE6. They take this entire situation seriously, but narrative wise, it's so ridiculous and outlandish that you're just like, yeah.
Suspension of disbelief.
We're talking about a guy who nuked an entire town because he wanted to get a crumb of booty. Like this is the whole plot arc of Simmons.
That's,
I'm not
it's
kidding.
it's a bit TLDR, but I suppose if you look at it that way.
Simmons is the ultimate Ada
I
son.
mean, yes, basically, but
Yup.
Simmons was just thirsty, so he decided to nuke an entire city.
But this is the ridiculous of the franchise. It's sometimes you get used to it, but other times I don't think that you could take it seriously depending on how it's really structured.
And honestly, that's why, as fans, we love the ridiculousness of this series. We're not meant to be. Well, it's meant to be over the top, but it's not meant to be like taken super serious.
Yeah, that's
Come
kind of why I love. That's kind of why I love Devil May Cry. The series don't take themselves so seriously to the point where it's like, yeah, it happens, and not that that's a bad thing because like when it does serious moments, they're actually done really well.
Okay.
I mean,
I got one final question for you guys before we close out and do outros. Would you guys want a grounded Resident Evil film? Like, no jokes, just completely straight up serious.
I don't know if you could do that. I would refer back to the Alone in the Dark film they did, if anyone's ever seen that, where that is what they pretty much did. They played it completely straight, and I don't think that was a very good film. So I don't see how that would work.
It's
very well.
Uwe
I
Boll,
think
so
it is
no-
opening
no.
itself up for just so much ridicule in this day and age. I don't see how that works.
It's Uwe Boll, so no, it wasn't that good.
No, well, I mean, I'm not going to get drawn into that conversation, but not
I mean,
not
that's
not
my
on
law with
not
him.
not on record.
What about you, Bernie?
I don't know. I think that a full series Resident Evil film will be weird because, well, basically, some of the humor, like even in like Damnation, all of the cheesy one-liners of Leon, I I was like, all right, it's no logic that you're saying them, but I'm still laughing that he's saying them because you're gonna need to have some humor. Like having humor in characters like that is what makes them feel human. Like feel like, hey, he's a real guy. Like he's not just like, oh, I'm serious. I'm gonna like kill zombies. No, he's just like, oh damn, I gotta kill zombies again. He feels like tired of all that shit. I don't know. Having a movie like in the way they have been played by now, it's perfect. I don't think they need to change much of the formula.
What about you, Des?
I feel the same way, honestly.
Well, like basically it just doesn't work.
Like I feel like, I feel like we need characters that are like what I guess what you said, what someone said.
Comic relief.
Yeah, we need the comic relief. Like it doesn't feel as super tense like the whole time. It feels a little more relatable, I guess.
The thing is, they've been larger than life characters, some of these, for like 15, 20 years. So to suddenly try and play it straight is like that. I don't see how that works on
I
any level.
I feel
Yeah, I
like
think
the
it would knock some people for a loop.
okay, I feel like the only way to do something like that is to make a side series, like the only way, and see how people like it. Because I mean, you were saying earlier, Black Shadow, that you wouldn't mind them trying like completely different things from the source material to make something new and interesting. It could be an interesting idea to someone else. It's just that a lot of people think it doesn't work because this franchise was built on a B movie horror. So you had characters like Barry, you had funny moments, you had bad voice acting. That would probably be an issue if they just took away that completely, because some people will say this is the core of Resident Evil. You took away survival horror once to turn it into something else, and you're also doing this with the characters. So I don't know, but I still feel like maybe they should do like a side series. I wouldn't mind if they did it and it wasn't like main canon or anything.
Have you seen Resident Evil on Netflix?
Uh, well, we don't know the tone of that yet. It sounds ridiculous too.
Just to bring it back to where we started.
Anyone else want to go on this?
We're going
Eh,
back there.
I'll take it.
Oh, no.
For me. Oh, you wanna go, Deadman, or? Oh, okay.
Oh no, I got nothing.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. For me, it kind of really depends. Like, I wouldn't mind a grounded Resident Evil movie. Like, I'd actually be down for it. Like the whole movie is pretty serious most of the time. Like, they crack a couple few jokes there and there, the characters, but it's like it has this really tense and foreboding atmosphere, and you really don't know what's gonna happen with these characters. And I think what they should just do is use entirely new characters as opposed to like established characters like Chris or Jill, for instance. Like, use some random Joes from, I don't know, like have a priest having to, like, discover these horrors in this house, stuff like that. Like, I think that'd be really neat to see, honestly.
You mean in terms of the serious
See, then when
tone?
Huh?
You mean
Go
in
on,
terms of the serious tone, or what were you getting at with that one?
Like, I mean, they can do a serious tone, but I think they should just do it like, I say do it with, like, don't do it with an established character, more so do it with, like, an entirely new character. I think that would work a lot better than, just using an established character, but that's just me.
So you don't know what's going to happen, who might survive, who might not survive, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I
yeah.
think to set up that it would be better instead of, because you can have it like a side character and you can kill them off and do whatever you want with that if they were serious. It's like, whatever, or make somebody care. I mean, I will say Pierce was a very serious character and they killed him off and some people cared about it. It just depends on what they do, but I think tonally that will probably be better for a sub series because they would be doing something also new in the process of building on that.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Anyone else before we go to outros and wrap up here?
I'll take it.
Good.
All right. So if they did do a live action grounded series for Resident Evil, they should, yeah, just do it like everyone says. Make it with characters that we don't know, brand new characters that no one's ever heard of. Build them up and make the setting kind of like Outbreak in a sense. Make it like it's just this group of people trying to survive. Have moments
Nice.
where they just calm down, tell some jokes, provide some comic relief.
But we're going for
Almost sounds like The Walking
seriousness,
Dead.
so yeah. Someone said that in chat too.
Yeah.
Is this Walking Dead or So for seriousness, I don't think they would be making jokes.
Well, not all the time, but But if it's
yeah.
completely serious and dark, then that's fine too.
Yeah. We
As
don't
long
want
as
to
it
know it.
works.
Yeah, as long as it works, as long as you have a crew and a director who know the source material, who know what they're doing, who know how to implement it correctly, then it'd be fine.
Yeah, I can make the zombies not feel like chumps when I shoot them. Or, you know what I want to see in a movie? I want to see Crimson Heads. Never seen that before.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Yes, Crimson Heads.
Yeah.
Very
Bring back
nice.
the philosophy of the running zombie. I wouldn't mind.
Dawn of the Dead did it.
Oh yeah, they did,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I guess they're not really zombies, so to speak, quote unquote. But 28 days later,
Yeah, it's close enough. It'll do.
yeah.
It'll suffice.
All right, so we are going to wind down and do our outros here. So, Dirty Dan, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me mostly on Twitter at the Dirty Dan triple underscore, and also on YouTube at the Dirty Dan, where I haven't really uploaded much lately, but hopefully that changes soon.
Arlena?
Alright, well, you guys can find me on Twitter at CabrinaK, where I post a lot of video game related or even some Dungeons and Dragons related content. And of course, keep an eye out for my Twitter for a announcement that I will have, hopefully by Monday. You can find me on YouTube at Arlena Bloodgrave, and you can also find me on Twitch at Arlena Bloodgrave.
Deadman, where can we find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Deadman Gaming. As I said, I do Gaming Wins, and I am also on Twitter at DeadmanGaming13. I generally just do shit posts and retweets, but occasionally I have a few good
Least be
gems. I mean that's what it's there for, right?
Des, where can we find you?
You can find me at twitch.com/VersaVulture24. You can find me on Twitter at Desiree_Veronica, and that's pretty much where I'm active the most.
Awesome. Bernie, where can we find you, dude?
You can find me mostly at twitch.tv/Bernion, where I stream some of the days, but mostly in Spanish. But you can hop on and say hi, no problem. You can also find me on twitter.com or at aoncarnbay, where I say weird shit sometimes. You can also find me on my OnlyFans at that's that one's a lie. That's not true. That one's a lie.
A new member with an OnlyFans? What?
No comment.
My places. Those are mostly my places: Twitch and Twitter.
You forgot to plug the OnlyFans of Mr. X, you know?
Oh no.
Still walking around in that Speedo.
Oh no.
God, don't remind me. I've played enough Outbreak in my time.
All right,
Definitely gonna give it to you.
Black Shadow, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitch slash say it correctly eventually. Black_shadow_993, as well as on my YouTube slash blackshadow993 with links to my Twitter, Discord, Patreon, all the rest of it. There's plenty much going on.
Andre, where can we find you, buddy?
You can find me at Twitter at Andre B Venom. I do have a YouTube. I don't really do much, but I'm actually thinking of maybe posting videos one day. And yeah, that's all.
All right, and you can find me on YouTube at Renegade Operative, Twitter at RenOperative_. All my links are in the Twitter bio, so if you want to find me everywhere else, you should be able to do so. I think tomorrow we are doing another podcast on Spider-Man, and we are also announcing the fact that we are going to probably do a consistent streaming schedule for events or maybe recordings or stuff like that. It's going to be Friday at 7 p.m. EDT, game nights, and that's going to be game nights, movie nights. Sometimes we shift around, and then there's going to be Sunday for a podcast, which is going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully this works out for everyone. Hopefully we do more interesting discussions like this in the future, and we will see you guys later out there in Twitch and YouTube land. Hopefully you have a good time, be safe, and once again, we will see you later.